Let's practice English conversation. You needn't have taken an umbrella with you. You needn't have taken an umbrella with you.
You needn't have taken an umbrella with you.
People are more educated now than they used to be. People are more educated now than they used to be.
People are more educated now than they used to be.
It is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
It is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Fluency in English is a very marketable skill today. Fluency in English is a very marketable skill today.
Fluency in English is a very marketable skill today.
It makes sense to pay off your credit card balance every month. It makes sense to pay off your credit card balance every month.
It makes sense to pay off your credit card balance every month.
It is true that she is pretty, but she is selfish. It is true that she is pretty, but she is selfish.
It is true that she is pretty, but she is selfish.
He makes it a rule to take a walk every morning. He makes it a rule to take a walk every morning.
He makes it a rule to take a walk every morning.
I can speak Chinese, but I can't read it. I can speak Chinese, but I can't read it.
I can speak Chinese, but I can't read it.
I was just about to come looking for you. I was just about to come looking for you.
I was just about to come looking for you.
A trip to America was equivalent to a 2-year salary for her. A trip to America was equivalent to a 2-year salary for her.
A trip to America was equivalent to a 2-year salary for her.
Some of them are healthy, but others are not. Some of them are healthy, but others are not.
Some of them are healthy, but others are not.
I wonder if you have something to write with. I wonder if you have something to write with.
I wonder if you'll have something to write with.
In a way, you are right, but I still have doubts. In a way, you are right, but I still have doubts.
In a way, you are right, but I still have doubts.
I am going to stay here for a couple of days. I am going to stay here for a couple of days.
I am going to stay here for a couple of days.
The old houses were torn down to make room for a supermarket. The old houses were torn down to make room for a supermarket.
The old houses were torn down to make room for a supermarket.
If he is innocent, it follows that his wife is guilty. If he is innocent, it follows that his wife is guilty.
If he is innocent, it follows that his wife is guilty.
It is believed that whales have their own language. It is believed that whales have their own language.
It is believed that whales have their own language.
My wife's part-time job brings in a little extra money. My wife's part-time job brings in a little extra money.
My wife's part-time job brings in a little extra money.
I would like to have a cup of coffee. I would like to have a cup of coffee.
I would like to have a cup of coffee.
You can get from Washington to New York by train. You can get from Washington to New York by train.
You can get from Washington to New York by train.
You must be at the station by 5 o'clock. You must be at the station by 5 o'clock.
You must be at the station by 5 o'clock.
Will you please explain the meaning of this sentence to me? Will you please explain the meaning of this sentence to me?
Will you please explain the meaning of this sentence to me?
Between you and me, I think our boss is stupid. Between you and me, I think our boss is stupid.
Between you and me, I think our boss is stupid.
Finishing the report by tomorrow is next to impossible. Finishing the report by tomorrow is next to impossible.
Finishing the report by tomorrow is next to impossible.
Did you have a good time on your trip to London? Did you have a good time on your trip to London?
Did you have a good time on your trip to London?
Is it all right to take pictures in this building? Is it all right to take pictures in this building?
Is it all right to take pictures in this building?
Have you ever seen such a beautiful sunset? Have you ever seen such a beautiful sunset?
Have you ever seen such a beautiful sunset?
To the best of my knowledge, the rumor is not true. To the best of my knowledge, the rumor is not true.
To the best of my knowledge, the rumor is not true.
I don't like to go out when it's dark. I don't like to go out when it's dark.
I don't like to go out when it's dark.
The ice on the lake is too thin to bear your weight. The ice on the lake is too thin to bear your weight.
The ice on the lake is too thin to bear your weight.
Can you please tell me your name once more? Can you please tell me your name once more?
Can you please tell me your name once more?
I don't care what color ink. Just bring me a pen. I don't care what color ink. Just bring me a pen.
I don't care what color ink. Just bring me a pen.
I don't want to live my life in fear. I don't want to live my life in fear.
I do not want to live my life in fear.
I agree with what you say to some extent. I agree with what you say to some extent.
I agree with what you say to some extent.
He is not as smart as his older brother. He is not as smart as his older brother.
He is not as smart as his older brother.
The fire broke out after the staff went home. The fire broke out after the staff went home.
The fire broke out after the staff went home.
Take your hat off when you enter a house of worship. Take your hat off when you enter a house of worship.
Take off your hat when you enter a house of worship.
What is the distance between New York and London? What is the distance between New York and London?
What is the distance between New York and London?
With your approval, I would like to offer him the job. With your approval, I would like to offer him the job.
With your approval, I would like to offer him the job.
I can't believe your parents let you come here by yourself. I can't believe your parents let you come here by yourself.
I can't believe your parents let you come here by yourself.
I have to take my medicine every 6 hours. I have to take my medicine every 6 hours.
I have to take my medicine every 6 hours.
The dolphin and trainer communicated much better than we expected. The dolphin and trainer communicated much better than we expected.
The dolphin and trainer communicated much better than we expected.
My grandfather sometimes talks to himself when he is alone. My grandfather sometimes talks to himself when he is alone.
My grandfather sometimes talks to himself when he is alone.
There is no point in pretending to be sick. There is no point in pretending to be sick.
There is no point in pretending to be sick.
The old church on the hill dates back to the 12th century. The old church on the hill dates back to the 12th century.
The old church on the hill dates back to the 12th century.
What time does the train for New York depart? What time does the train for New York depart?
What time does the train for New York depart?
We are looking forward to seeing you and your family. We are looking forward to seeing you and your family.
We are looking forward to seeing you and your family.
I made a bet that she would win the game. I made a bet that she would win the game.
I made a bet that she would win the game.
How long does it take to get to the train station? How long does it take to get to the train station?
How long does it take to get to the train station?
I don't want to work under these conditions. I don't want to work under these conditions.
I don't want to work under these conditions.
You are old enough to know better than to act like that. You are old enough to know better than to act like that.
You are old enough to know better than to act like that.
I recognize that what he says is the truth. I recognize that what he says is the truth.
I recognize that what he says is the truth.
As far as I know, he did nothing wrong. As far as I know, he did nothing wrong.
As far as I know, he did nothing wrong.
It is said that treasure is buried in this area. It is said that treasure is buried in this area.
It is said that treasure is buried in this area.
What will you be doing at this time tomorrow? What will you be doing at this time tomorrow?
What will you be doing at this time tomorrow?
She got all dolled up for her big date. She got all dolled up for her big date.
She got all dolled up for her big date.
We waited in the park for a long time. We waited in the park for a long time.
I waited in the park for a long time.
The rivers were flooded by the heavy rain. The rivers were flooded by the heavy rain.
The rivers were flooded by the heavy rain.
I don't think I can help you very much. I don't think I can help you very much.
I don't think I can help you very much.
It's very big of you to admit you're wrong. It's very big of you to admit you're wrong.
It's very big of you to admit you're wrong.
I had to abstain from smoking while I was in the hospital. I had to abstain from smoking while I was in the hospital.
I had to abstain from smoking while I was in the hospital.
This airplane is capable of carrying 40 passengers at a time. This airplane is capable of carrying 40 passengers at a time.
This airplane is capable of carrying 40 passengers at a time.
A beautiful woman was seated one row in front of me. A beautiful woman was seated one row in front of me.
A beautiful woman was seated one row in front of me.
Everyone is anxious to know what has become of the former champion. Everyone is anxious to know what has become of the former champion.
Everyone is anxious to know what has become of the former champion.
The offer is too good to be turned down. The offer is too good to be turned down.
The offer is too good to be turned down.
If you can't come, you should let me know ahead of time. If you can't come, you should let me know ahead of time.
If you can't come, you should let me know ahead of time.
Some babies learn to swim even before they are 1 year old. Some babies learn to swim even before they are 1 year old.
Some babies learn to swim even before they are 1 year old.
I will badly miss you if you leave Japan. I will badly miss you if you leave Japan.
I will badly miss you if you leave Japan.
How far is it from the airport to the hotel? How far is it from the airport to the hotel?
How far is it from the airport to the hotel?
About how much will I have to pay for all the treatments? About how much will I have to pay for all the treatments?
About how much will I have to pay for all of the treatments?
I don't see any reason why I have to apologize. I don't see any reason why I have to apologize.
I don't see any reason why I have to apologize.
My son is now as tall as I am. My son is now as tall as I am.
My son is now as tall as I am.
The man reading a paper over there is my uncle. The man reading a paper over there is my uncle.
The man reading a paper over there is my uncle.
The students were for the most part from the West Coast. The students were for the most part from the West Coast.
The students were for the most part from the West Coast.
You can't drink seawater because it is too salty. You can't drink seawater because it is too salty.
You can't drink seawater because it is too salty.
My father will often read the newspaper during meals. My father will often read the newspaper during meals.
My father will often read the newspaper during meals.
Please remind me to mail the report tomorrow. Please remind me to mail the report tomorrow.
Please remind me to mail the report tomorrow.
Can you imagine what the 21st century will be like? Can you imagine what the 21st century will be like?
Can you imagine what the 21st century will be like?
The teacher lined the children up in order of height. The teacher lined the children up in order of height.
The teacher lined the children up in order of height.
The weather was so cold that the lake froze over. The weather was so cold that the lake froze over.
The weather was so cold that the lake froze over.
Every time I read the Bible, I am deeply moved. Every time I read the Bible, I am deeply moved.
Every time I read the Bible, I am deeply moved.
How come you know so much about Japanese history? How come you know so much about Japanese history?
How come you know so much about Japanese history?
Water is liquid. When it freezes, it becomes solid. Water is liquid. When it freezes, it becomes solid.
Water is liquid. When it freezes, it becomes solid.
I am going to my room where I can study. I am going to my room where I can study.
I am going to my room where I can study.
She bought 6 yards of cloth for a dress. She bought 6 yards of cloth for a dress.
She had bought 6 yards of cloth for a dress.
He was moved to tears when he heard the news. He was moved to tears when he heard the news.
He was moved to tears when he heard the news.
I don't want to hear any more of your complaining. I don't want to hear any more of your complaining.
I don't want to hear any more of your complaining.
Tsunamis swept through rice fields and flooded the towns. Tsunamis swept through rice fields and flooded the towns.
Tsunami swept through the rice fields and flooded the towns.
I'd gladly pay more for something if it's of high quality. I'd gladly pay more for something if it's of high quality.
I'd gladly pay more for something if it's of higher quality.
The assignment took me longer than I had expected. The assignment took me longer than I had expected.
This assignment took me longer than I had expected.
It seems that you are not having a good time here. It seems that you are not having a good time here.
It seems that you are not having a good time here.
According to my calculation, she should be in India by now. According to my calculation, she should be in India by now.
According to my calculation, she should be in India by now.
The man sitting next to me spoke to me. The man sitting next to me spoke to me.
The man sitting next to me spoke to me.
I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
She'll give her photo to whoever wants it. She'll give her photo to whoever wants it.
She'll give her photo to whoever wants it.
Since my mother was sick, I stayed home from school. Since my mother was sick, I stayed home from school.
Since my mother was sick, I stayed home from school.
I don't like the way you laugh at her. I don't like the way you laugh at her.
I don't like the way you laugh at her.
Quite by chance, I met my old friend in the airport. Quite by chance, I met my old friend in the airport.
Quite by chance, I met my old friend in the airport.
When she saw that they had no schools, she started one. When she saw that they had no schools, she started one.
When she saw that they had no schools, she started one.
The police think the burglar entered through a basement window. The police think the burglar entered through a basement window.
The police think the burglar entered through the basement window.
He said he did not know the man, which was a lie. He said he did not know the man, which was a lie.
He said he did not know the man, which was a lie.
She went into her room to change her dress. She went into her room to change her dress.
She went into her room to change her dress.
I can't put up with that noise any longer. I can't put up with that noise any longer.
I can't put up with that noise any longer.
He is not as intelligent as his older brother. He is not as intelligent as his older brother.
He is not as intelligent as his older brother.
She was too short to see over the fence. She was too short to see over the fence.
She was too short to see over the fence.
I remember my mother teaching me the alphabet. I remember my mother teaching me the alphabet.
I remember my mother teaching me the alphabet.
You've both been very impressive today. I'm proud of you. You've both been very impressive today. I'm proud of you.
You've both been very impressive today. I'm proud of you.
He has not written to us since last February. He has not written to us since last February.
He has not written to us since last February.
As long as you keep quiet, you can stay here. As long as you keep quiet, you can stay here.
As long as you keep quiet, you can stay here.
I don't know what to say to make you feel better. I don't know what to say to make you feel better.
I don't know what to say to make you feel better.
He has spent 10 years in jail for murder. He has spent 10 years in jail for murder.
He has spent the last 10 years in jail for murder.
He picked up a mirror and examined his tongue. He picked up a mirror and examined his tongue.
He picked up a mirror and examined his tongue.
I swear I will never do such a thing. I swear I will never do such a thing.
I swear I will never do such a thing.
You haven't washed your hands yet, have you? You haven't washed your hands yet, have you?
You haven't washed your hands yet, have you?
In a crisis, you must get in touch with your teacher. In a crisis, you must get in touch with your teacher.
In a crisis, you must get in touch with your teacher.
I wanted to thank you for what you did today. I wanted to thank you for what you did today.
I wanted to thank you for what you did today.
I have too many things on my mind these days. I have too many things on my mind these days.
I have too many things on my mind these days.
It is necessary for you to go there immediately. It is necessary for you to go there immediately.
It is necessary for you to go there immediately.
I had never seen a windmill until I visited the Netherlands. I had never seen a windmill until I visited the Netherlands.
I had never seen a windmill until I visited the Netherlands.
A lot of people swim here in the summer. A lot of people swim here in the summer.
A lot of people swim here in the summer.
Scientists can easily compute the distance between planets. Scientists can easily compute the distance between planets.
Scientists can easily compute the distance between planets.
They came up with a plan after a long discussion. They came up with a plan after a long discussion.
They came up with a plan after a long discussion.
We lost sight of the man in the crowd. We lost sight of the man in the crowd.
We lost sight of the man in the crowd.
I'm sure I can find something for you to do. I'm sure I can find something for you to do.
I'm sure I can find something for you to do.
The teacher has a great influence on his pupils. The teacher has a great influence on his pupils.
The teacher has a great influence on his pupils.
Thanks very much for having me to dinner the other night. Thanks very much for having me to dinner the other night.
Thanks very much for having me to dinner the other night.
Once he had written the letter, he sent it. Once he had written the letter, he sent it.
Once he had written the letter, he sent it.
Several cottages have been isolated by the flood water. Several cottages have been isolated by the flood water.
Several cottages have been isolated by the flood water.
Did you enjoy yourself at the party last night? Did you enjoy yourself at the party last night?
Did you enjoy yourself at the party last night?
I always rely on him in times of trouble. I always rely on him in times of trouble.
I always rely on him in times of trouble.
I had no choice but to accept the offer. I had no choice but to accept the offer.
I had no choice but to accept the offer.
It looks like the dog wants something to eat. It looks like the dog wants something to eat.
It looks like the dog wants something to eat.
You should not have lent the money to such a person. You should not have lent the money to such a person.
You should not have lent the money to such a person.
She waved her hand until the train was out of sight. She waved her hand until the train was out of sight.
She waved her hand until the train was out of sight.
You remind me of a boy I used to know. You remind me of a boy I used to know.
You remind me of a boy I used to know.
An old man was resting in the shade of the tree. An old man was resting in the shade of the tree.
An old man was resting in the shade of a tree.
He amassed a fortune in stock trading during the last boom. He amassed a fortune in stock trading during the last boom.
He amassed a fortune in stock trading during the last boom.
Let's go and see as many things as we can. Let's go and see as many things as we can.
Let's go and see as many things as we can.
I hope he'll be able to come. I'd like to see him. I hope he'll be able to come. I'd like to see him.
I hope he'll be able to come home. I'd like to see him.
They awarded her first prize at the flower show. They awarded her first prize at the flower show.
They awarded her first prize at the flower show.
We all consider your idea to be impractical. We all consider your idea to be impractical.
We all consider your idea to be impractical.
You will soon get accustomed to your new school. You will soon get accustomed to your new school.
You will soon get accustomed to your new school.
Let's talk over a cup of tea, shall we? Let's talk over a cup of tea, shall we?
Let's talk over a cup of tea, shall we?
After she had lunch, she got ready to go out. After she had lunch, she got ready to go out.
After she had lunch, she got ready to go out.
A good many people have told me to take a holiday. A good many people have told me to take a holiday.
A good many people have told me to take a holiday.
Don't forget to put a stamp on your letter. Don't forget to put a stamp on your letter.
Don't forget to put a stamp on your letter.
If I'd known the truth, I'd have told you. If I'd known the truth, I'd have told you.
If I'd known the truth, I'd have told you.
If he studied hard, he would pass the test. If he studied hard, he would pass the test.
If he studied hard, he would pass the test.
Judging from the look of the sky, it is likely to rain. Judging from the look of the sky, it is likely to rain.
Judging from the look of the sky, it is likely to rain.
I'm going off to Vancouver next week to see my sister. I'm going off to Vancouver next week to see my sister.
I'm going off to Vancouver next week to see my sister.
The accident seemed to have something to do with the heavy snow. The accident seemed to have something to do with the heavy snow.
The accident seemed to have something to do with the heavy snow.
Do I have to take off my shoes here? Do I have to take off my shoes here?
Do I have to take off my shoes here?
She stayed in that area for a short while. She stayed in that area for a short while.
She stayed in that area for a short while.
What makes you think I won't be able to do it? What makes you think I won't be able to do it?
What makes you think I won't be able to do it?
Sorry, but can you show me the way to the next village? Sorry, but can you show me the way to the next village?
Sorry, but can you show me the way to the next village?
We take it for granted that he will succeed in his business. We take it for granted that he will succeed in his business.
We take it for granted that he will succeed in his business.
You shouldn't share too much private information on the social networks. You shouldn't share too much private information on the social networks.
You shouldn't share too much private information on the social networks.
If I were in your place, I would lend him a hand. If I were in your place, I would lend him a hand.
If I were in your place, I would lend him a hand.
I live near the sea, so I often go to the beach. I live near the sea, so I often go to the beach.
I live near the sea, so I often go to the beach.
I told you not to talk about the matter in her presence. I told you not to talk about the matter in her presence.
I told you not to talk about the matter in her presence.
Let me give you a lift as far as the station. Let me give you a lift as far as the station.
Let me give you a lift as far as the station.
London, the capital of England, is on the Thames. London, the capital of England, is on the Thames.
London, the capital of England, is on the Thames.
You'd better wear a sweater under your jacket. You'd better wear a sweater under your jacket.
You'd better wear a sweater under your jacket.
A caged cricket eats just as much as a free cricket. A caged cricket eats just as much as a free cricket.
A caged cricket eats just as much as a free cricket.
You continue making the same mistakes time after time. You continue making the same mistakes time after time.
You continue making the same mistakes time after time.
If you hurry, you will catch up with him. If you hurry, you will catch up with him.
If you hurry, we will catch up with him.
I didn't expect to see you at a place like this. I didn't expect to see you at a place like this.
I didn't expect to see you at a place like this.
The doctor told her that she should take a rest. The doctor told her that she should take a rest.
The doctor told her that she should take a rest.
I'll come and see you one of these days. I'll come and see you one of these days.
I'll come and see you one of these days.
A fire broke out in my neighborhood last night. A fire broke out in my neighborhood last night.
A fire broke out in my neighborhood last night.
Having lived in Tokyo, I know the city well. Having lived in Tokyo, I know the city well.
Having lived in Tokyo, I know the city well.
Women eat lighter meals when they're eating with a guy. Women eat lighter meals when they're eating with a guy.
Women eat lighter meals when they are eating with a guy.
Let me help you. Your bag looks very heavy. Let me help you. Your bag looks very heavy.
Let me help you. Your bag looks very heavy.
I would like to have a look at your collection of stamps. I would like to have a look at your collection of stamps.
I would like to have a look at your collection of stamps.
I ran across an old friend near the bank. I ran across an old friend near the bank.
I ran across an old friend near the bank.
I'd like to try this on. Where are the fitting rooms? I'd like to try this on. Where are the fitting rooms?
I'd like to try this on. Where are the fitting rooms?
You have to turn in the reports on Monday. You have to turn in the reports on Monday.
You have to turn in the reports on Monday.
I don't feel like taking a walk this morning. I don't feel like taking a walk this morning.
I don't feel like taking a walk this morning.
Will you listen to me for a few minutes? Will you listen to me for a few minutes?
Will you listen to me for a few minutes?
I hate when other people make me wait a long time. I hate when other people make me wait a long time.
I hate when other people make me wait a long time.
She can sing better than anybody else in her class. She can sing better than anybody else in her class.
She can sing better than anyone else in her class.
I went to the hospital to have my eyes tested. I went to the hospital to have my eyes tested.
I went to the hospital to have my eyes tested.
It took her a long time to choose a hat. It took her a long time to choose a hat.
It took her a long time to choose a hat.
They wanted a wedding picture in front of the Eiffel Tower. They wanted a wedding picture in front of the Eiffel Tower.
They wanted a wedding picture in front of the Eiffel Tower.
I have to go shopping. I'll be back in an hour. I have to go shopping. I'll be back in an hour.
I have to go shopping. I'll be back in an hour.
The first thing you have to take into consideration is time. The first thing you have to take into consideration is time.
The first thing you have to take into consideration is time.
If you buy me an ice cream, I'll give you a kiss. If you buy me an ice cream, I'll give you a kiss.
If you buy me an ice cream, I'll give you a kiss.
This car was so cheap that he could afford it. This car was so cheap that he could afford it.
This car was so cheap that he could afford it.
The average height of the girls in class is over 155 centimeters. The average height of the girls in class is over 155 centimeters.
The average height of the girls in class is over 155 centimeters.
I would like to leave this town and never come back. I would like to leave this town and never come back.
I would like to leave this town and never come back.
There is no admission fee for children under 5. There is no admission fee for children under 5.
There is no admission fee for children under 5.
He fell in love with her at first sight. He fell in love with her at first sight.
He fell in love with her at first sight.
I ran as fast as possible to catch up with him. I ran as fast as possible to catch up with him.
I ran as fast as possible to catch up with him.
We all wondered why she had dumped such a nice man. We all wondered why she had dumped such a nice man.
We all wondered why she had dumped such a nice man.
My father always speaks in a very loud voice. My father always speaks in a very loud voice.
My father always speaks in a very loud voice.
Make sure to turn off all the lights before going out. Make sure to turn off all the lights before going out.
Make sure to turn off all the lights before going out.
My father has been in good shape since his operation. My father has been in good shape since his operation.
My father has been in good shape since his operation.
He is going to be a doctor when he grows up. He is going to be a doctor when he grows up.
He is going to be a doctor when he grows up.
The truth is that nothing is totally true or false. The truth is that nothing is totally true or false.
The truth is that nothing is totally true or false.
Can you wake me up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning? Can you wake me up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Can you wake me up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning?
I plan to stay at home all day tomorrow. I plan to stay at home all day tomorrow.
I plan to stay at home all day tomorrow.
She wrote him a long letter, but he didn't read it. She wrote him a long letter, but he didn't read it.
She wrote him a long letter, but he didn't read it.
She told me that she would go to Paris in August. She told me that she would go to Paris in August.
She told me that she would go to Paris in August.
Give him an inch and he'll take a yard. Give him an inch and he'll take a yard.
Give him an inch and he'll take a yard.
How long does it take to walk to the station? How long does it take to walk to the station?
How long does it take to walk to the station?
To tell the truth, I don't agree with you. To tell the truth, I don't agree with you.
To tell the truth, I don't agree with you.
This book is for students whose native language is not Japanese. This book is for students whose native language is not Japanese.
This book is for all students whose native language is not Japanese.
I felt a drop of rain on my head. I felt a drop of rain on my head.
I felt a drop of rain on my head.
The firm went under due to lack of capital. The firm went under due to lack of capital.
The firm went under due to lack of capital.
If it is fine tomorrow, we'll go on a picnic. If it is fine tomorrow, we'll go on a picnic.
It is fine tomorrow. We'll go on a picnic.
His death was a great loss to our firm. His death was a great loss to our firm.
His death was a great loss to our firm.
He is going to drive you to the airport. He is going to drive you to the airport.
He is going to drive you to the airport.
As more paper money came into use, the value fell. As more paper money came into use, the value fell.
As more paper money came into use, the value fell.
He looked for every possible means of escape. He looked for every possible means of escape.
He looked for every possible means of escape.
There is a certain amount of truth in what he's saying. There is a certain amount of truth in what he's saying.
There is a certain amount of truth in what he's saying.
The girl was afraid to jump down from the roof. The girl was afraid to jump down from the roof.
The girl was afraid to jump down from the roof.
2 months have passed since he left for France. 2 months have passed since he left for France.
2 months have passed since he left for France.
Where do you suppose you'll spend your vacation? Where do you suppose you'll spend your vacation?
Where do you suppose you'll spend your vacation?
If you can't have children, you could always adopt. If you can't have children, you could always adopt.
If you can't have children, you could always adopt.
I should have known better than to call him. I should have known better than to call him.
I should have known better than to call him.
She was ashamed of herself for her carelessness. She was ashamed of herself for her carelessness.
She was ashamed of herself for her carelessness.
The Tigers lost the game, which was a surprise to us. The Tigers lost the game, which was a surprise to us.
The Tigers lost the game, which was a surprise to us.
The Internet is an invaluable source of information. The Internet is an invaluable source of information.
The Internet is an invaluable source of information.
The entire sales staff has worked around the clock for a week. The entire sales staff has worked around the clock for a week.
The entire sales staff has worked around the clock for a week.
The weather was not only cold, it was also damp. The weather was not only cold, it was also damp.
The weather was not only cold, it was also damp.
You should look after the children from time to time. You should look after the children from time to time.
You should look after the children from time to time.
I found the secret compartment quite by accident. I found the secret compartment quite by accident.
I found the secret compartment quite by accident.
If I had taken that plane, I would be dead now. If I had taken that plane, I would be dead now.
If I had taken that plane, I would be dead now.
1 million people lost their lives in the war. 1 million people lost their lives in the war.
1 million people lost their lives in the war.
The coral reef is the region's prime attraction. The coral reef is the region's prime attraction.
The coral reef is the region's prime attraction.
I can't go with you because I'm very busy. I can't go with you because I'm very busy.
I can't go with you because I am very busy.
Would you like to go to the zoo this afternoon? Would you like to go to the zoo this afternoon?
Would you like to go to the zoo this afternoon?
All of a sudden, 3 dogs appeared in front of us. All of a sudden, 3 dogs appeared in front of us.
All of a sudden, 3 dogs appeared in front of us.
She was advised by him to go to the police. She was advised by him to go to the police.
She was advised by him to go to the police.
I've had a lot of work to do lately. I've had a lot of work to do lately.
I've had a lot of work to do lately.
I got up early enough to catch the first train. I got up early enough to catch the first train.
I got up early enough to catch the first train.
A slip of the tongue is sometimes fatal to a politician. A slip of the tongue is sometimes fatal to a politician.
A slip of the tongue is sometimes fatal to a politician.
I took it for granted that he would keep his word. I took it for granted that he would keep his word.
I took it for granted that he would keep his word.
Our teacher has a wonderful sense of humor. Our teacher has a wonderful sense of humor.
Our teacher has a wonderful sense of humor.
You speak so softly that I cannot quite hear what you say. You speak so softly that I cannot quite hear what you say.
You speak so softly that I cannot quite hear what you say.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Don't translate English into Japanese word for word. Don't translate English into Japanese word for word.
Don't translate English into Japanese word for word.
I'll always love you, no matter what happens. I'll always love you, no matter what happens.
I'll always love you, no matter what happens.
The train for Birmingham leaves from platform 3. The train for Birmingham leaves from platform 3.
The train for Birmingham leaves from platform 3.
It is cruel of him to say such things to her. It is cruel of him to say such things to her.
It is cruel of him to say such things to her.
Did you check all the items on the shopping list? Did you check all the items on the shopping list?
Did you check all the items on the shopping list?
You should try to form the habit of using your dictionaries. You should try to form the habit of using your dictionaries.
You should try to form the habit of using your dictionaries.
We should have taken the schedule into consideration. We should have taken the schedule into consideration.
We should have taken the schedule into consideration.
He has 3 times as many books as I have. He has 3 times as many books as I have.
He has 3 times as many books as I have.
A blast of cold air swept through the house. A blast of cold air swept through the house.
A blast of cold air swept through the house.
I'm not a university student, but I'm brighter than them. I'm not a university student, but I'm brighter than them.
I'm not a university student, but I'm brighter than them.
The space race was an exciting time in history. The space race was an exciting time in history.
The space race was an exciting time in history.
This place has a mysterious atmosphere to it. This place has a mysterious atmosphere to it.
This place has a mysterious atmosphere to it.
We're out of tissue paper, so I need to go buy some. We're out of tissue paper, so I need to go buy some.
We're out of tissue paper, so I need to go buy some.
After reading his books, I feel I can construct a house. After reading his books, I feel I can construct a house.
After reading his books, I feel I can construct a house.
I have been living in Canada for almost 5 years. I have been living in Canada for almost 5 years.
I have been living in Canada for almost 5 years.
He is as smart as any other boy in the class. He is as smart as any other boy in the class.
He is as smart as any other boy in the class.
Can you put up with the way he behaves? Can you put up with the way he behaves?
Can you put up with the way he behaves?
The fish he caught yesterday is still alive. The fish he caught yesterday is still alive.
The fish he caught yesterday is still alive.
It's next to impossible to finish it in a day. It's next to impossible to finish it in a day.
It's next to impossible to finish it in a day.
Does he go to school on foot or by bicycle? Does he go to school on foot or by bicycle?
Does he go to school on foot or by bicycle?
The bus stopped suddenly in the middle of the street. The bus stopped suddenly in the middle of the street.
The bus stopped suddenly in the middle of the street.
There are not many books on these shelves. There are not many books on these shelves.
There are not many books on these shelves.
One good friend is better than 10 relatives. One good friend is better than 10 relatives.
One good friend is better than 10 relatives.
The town was destroyed by the flood after the storm. The town was destroyed by the flood after the storm.
The town was destroyed by the flood after the storm.
She told him that she believed in astrology. She told him that she believed in astrology.
She told him that she believed in astrology.
I can't get at the exact meaning of the sentence. I can't get at the exact meaning of the sentence.
I can't get at the exact meaning of the sentence.
How large is the population of New York City? How large is the population of New York City?
How large is the population of New York City?
You may as well tell me all about it. You may as well tell me all about it.
You may as well tell me all about it.
I couldn't prevent Tom from eating all the cookies. I couldn't prevent Tom from eating all the cookies.
I couldn't prevent Tom from eating all the cookies.
The more books you read, the more you'll know. The more books you read, the more you'll know.
The more books you read, the more you'll know.
Leaving something unfinished is the worst thing you can do. Leaving something unfinished is the worst thing you can do.
Leaving something unfinished is the worst thing you could do.
All the signs are that she is getting better. All the signs are that she is getting better.
All the signs are that she is getting better.
I've done bad things that I should be punished for. I've done bad things that I should be punished for.
I've done bad things I should be punished for.
I walk my dog in the park every morning. I walk my dog in the park every morning.
I walk my dog in the park every morning.
As soon as the door opened, they ran away. As soon as the door opened, they ran away.
As soon as I opened the door, they ran away.
He crashed his car because someone tampered with the brakes. He crashed his car because someone tampered with the brakes.
He crashed his car because someone tampered with the brakes.
The end does not always justify the means. The end does not always justify the means.
The end does not always justify the means.
The enemy dropped many bombs on the factory. The enemy dropped many bombs on the factory.
The enemy dropped many bombs on the factory.
She's been absent from school for 5 days. She's been absent from school for 5 days.
She's been absent from school for 5 days.
A foreign language cannot be mastered in a year or so. A foreign language cannot be mastered in a year or so.
A foreign language cannot be mastered in a year or so.
Judging from the look of the sky, it may rain this afternoon. Judging from the look of the sky, it may rain this afternoon.
Judging from the look of the sky, it may rain this afternoon.
The police assembled a lot of evidence against him. The police assembled a lot of evidence against him.
The police assembled a lot of evidence against him.
Do you have any idea who would do this? Do you have any idea who would do this?
Do you have any idea who would do this?
She came to Japan for the purpose of studying Japanese. She came to Japan for the purpose of studying Japanese.
She came to Japan for the purpose of studying Japanese.
He wrote this book at the age of 20. He wrote this book at the age of 20.
He wrote this book at the age of 20.
It took me a little more time than usual to fall asleep. It took me a little more time than usual to fall asleep.
It took me a little more time than usual to fall asleep.
A bicycle will rust if you leave it in the rain. A bicycle will rust if you leave it in the rain.
A bicycle will rust if you leave it in the rain.
What is the difference between this and that? What is the difference between this and that?
What is the difference between this and that?
I love her so much that I can't leave her. I love her so much that I can't leave her.
I love her so much that I can't leave her.
I knocked on the door, but nobody answered. I knocked on the door, but nobody answered.
I knocked on the door, but nobody answered.
We promised to stand by him in case of trouble. We promised to stand by him in case of trouble.
We promised to stand by him in case of trouble.
I can't tell you how to pronounce the word. I can't tell you how to pronounce the word.
I can't tell you how to pronounce the word.
Are you aware of how much she loves you? Are you aware of how much she loves you?
Are you aware of how much she loves you?
Are you going to visit any other countries? Are you going to visit any other countries?
Are you going to visit any other countries?
It is not easy to learn a foreign language. It is not easy to learn a foreign language.
It is not easy to learn a foreign language.
Many schools are closed today because of the storm. Many schools are closed today because of the storm.
Many schools are closed today because of the storm.
I know an English teacher who comes from Canada. I know an English teacher who comes from Canada.
I know an English teacher who comes from Canada.
That was the first time that a man walked on the moon. That was the first time that a man walked on the moon.
That was the first time a man walked on the moon.
You have changed so much that I can hardly recognize you. You have changed so much that I can hardly recognize you.
You have changed so much that I can hardly recognize you.
More money for education will spur economic growth. More money for education will spur economic growth.
More money for education will spur our economic growth.
Our music teacher advised me to visit Vienna. Our music teacher advised me to visit Vienna.
Our music teacher advised me to visit Vienna.
He does nothing but complain from morning till night. He does nothing but complain from morning till night.
He does nothing but complain from morning till night.
It is extremely hot and humid in Bali in December. It is extremely hot and humid in Bali in December.
It is extremely hot and humid in Bali in December.
Honesty is the primary reason for his success. Honesty is the primary reason for his success.
Honesty is the primary reason for his success.
I want you to stay here until I get back. I want you to stay here until I get back.
I want to stay here until I get back.
English is a universal language and is used all over the world. English is a universal language and is used all over the world.
English is a universal language and is used all over the world.
It is sometimes difficult to make yourself understood in public. It is sometimes difficult to make yourself understood in public.
It is sometimes difficult to make yourself understood in public.
He amazed everyone by passing his driving test. He amazed everyone by passing his driving test.
He amazed everyone by passing his driving test.
My uncle comes to see me from time to time. My uncle comes to see me from time to time.
My uncle comes to see me from time to time.
You didn't come to school yesterday, did you? You didn't come to school yesterday, did you?
You didn't come to school yesterday, did you?
He studied hard in order to get into college. He studied hard in order to get into college.
He studied hard in order to get into college.
You're the one who decided to do this job, right? You're the one who decided to do this job, right?
You're the one who decided to do this job, right?
I wonder why they left my name off the list. I wonder why they left my name off the list.
I wonder why they left my name off the list.
Is it right for a doctor to decide when someone should die? Is it right for a doctor to decide when someone should die?
Is it right for a doctor to decide when someone should die?
It is definite that he will go to America. It is definite that he will go to America.
It is definite that he will go to America.
For some reason, the microphone didn't work earlier. For some reason, the microphone didn't work earlier.
For some reason, the microphone didn't work earlier.
This book is too difficult for you to read. This book is too difficult for you to read.
This book is too difficult for you to read.
I do not like tea, so I generally drink coffee for breakfast. I do not like tea, so I generally drink coffee for breakfast.
I do not like tea, so generally I drink coffee for breakfast.
He visited his hometown for the first time in 10 years. He visited his hometown for the first time in 10 years.
He visited his hometown for the first time in 10 years.
I'll call for you at 8 tomorrow morning. I'll call for you at 8 tomorrow morning.
I'll call you at 8 tomorrow morning.
She doesn't have as much patience as you do. She doesn't have as much patience as you do.
She doesn't have as much patience as you do.
Florence is the most beautiful city in Italy. Florence is the most beautiful city in Italy.
Florence is the most beautiful city in Italy.
I used to play alone when I was a child. I used to play alone when I was a child.
I used to play alone when I was a child.
We were astonished to hear what had happened. We were astonished to hear what had happened.
We were astonished to hear about what had happened.
The bus is full. You'll have to wait for the next one. The bus is full. You'll have to wait for the next one.
The bus is full. You'll have to wait for the next one.
You had better take an umbrella with you today. You had better take an umbrella with you today.
You had better take an umbrella with you today.
Apart from on rainy days, I always ride my bike to work. Apart from on rainy days, I always ride my bike to work.
Apart from rainy days, I always ride my bike to work.
Our eyes take time to adjust to the darkness. Our eyes take time to adjust to the darkness.
Our eyes take time to adjust to the darkness.
Weather permitting, we will leave in an hour. Weather permitting, we will leave in an hour.
Weather permitting, we will leave in an hour.
Ebola spreads from person to person through bodily fluids. Ebola spreads from person to person through bodily fluids.
Ebola spreads from person to person through bodily fluids.
I go to the office by bicycle except on rainy days. I go to the office by bicycle except on rainy days.
I go to the office by bicycle, except on rainy days.
I slept a little during lunch break because I was so tired. I slept a little during lunch break because I was so tired.
I slept a little during lunch break because I was so tired.
There is no denying that she is very efficient. There is no denying that she is very efficient.
There is no denying that she is very efficient.
I am looking forward to hearing from you soon. I am looking forward to hearing from you soon.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon.
Scientists haven't found a cure for cancer yet. Scientists haven't found a cure for cancer yet.
Scientists haven't found a cure for cancer yet.
My cell phone has a built-in digital camera. My cell phone has a built-in digital camera.
My cell phone has a built-in digital camera.
This book is easy enough for them to read. This book is easy enough for them to read.
This book is easy enough for them to read.
This guidebook might be of use to you on your trip. This guidebook might be of use to you on your trip.
This guidebook may be of use to you on your trip.
I wish I could go to the party with you. I wish I could go to the party with you.
I wish I could go to the party with you.
I've been waiting for you since 2 o'clock. I've been waiting for you since 2 o'clock.
I've been waiting for you since 2 o'clock.
A group of young men are playing handball in the playground. A group of young men are playing handball in the playground.
A group of young men are playing handball in the playground.
As soon as she wakes up, we'll turn on the music. As soon as she wakes up, we'll turn on the music.
As soon as she wakes up, we'll turn on the music.
The date of the festival coincides with that of the exam. The date of the festival coincides with that of the exam.
The date of the festival coincides with that of the exam.
He said he was tired, so he would go home early. He said he was tired, so he would go home early.
He said he was tired, so he would go home early.
The potato was so hot that it burned my mouth. The potato was so hot that it burned my mouth.
The potato was so hot that it burned my mouth.
Did you forget to lock the door last night? Did you forget to lock the door last night?
Did you forget to lock the door last night?
I don't want to be involved in that matter. I don't want to be involved in that matter.
I don't want to be involved in that matter.
He always plans a thing out carefully before he does it. He always plans a thing out carefully before he does it.
He always plans things out carefully before he does it.
It's been a long time since we last saw each other. It's been a long time since we last saw each other.
It's been a long time since we last saw each other.
I thought you'd be full after eating that big steak. I thought you'd be full after eating that big steak.
I thought you'd be full after eating that big steak.
Don't be afraid of making mistakes when you speak English. Don't be afraid of making mistakes when you speak English.
Don't be afraid of making mistakes when you speak English.
You are free to do as you please with your money. You are free to do as you please with your money.
You are free to do as you please with your money.
This is the best book that I've ever read. This is the best book that I've ever read.
This is the best book I've ever read.
I always have to wear a tie because of my job. I always have to wear a tie because of my job.
I always have to wear a tie because of my job.
Their contract is to run out at the end of this month. Their contract is to run out at the end of this month.
Their contract is to run out at the end of this month.
I'm just writing a letter to my girlfriend. I'm just writing a letter to my girlfriend.
I'm just writing a letter to my girlfriend.
You do your part and I'll do the rest. You do your part and I'll do the rest.
You do your part, and I'll do the rest.
My son is going to leave for France next week. My son is going to leave for France next week.
My son is going to leave for France next week.
I like swimming, but I don't like to swim here. I like swimming, but I don't like to swim here.
I like swimming, but I don't like to swim here.
It took us half an hour to set up the tent. It took us half an hour to set up the tent.
It took us half an hour to set up the tent.
You've worked hard for months and have certainly earned a holiday. You've worked hard for months and have certainly earned a holiday.
You've worked hard for months and have certainly earned a holiday.
I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know what I'm going to do next.
I don't know what I'm going to do next.
Plastics have taken the place of many conventional materials. Plastics have taken the place of many conventional materials.
Plastics have taken the place of many conventional materials.
His mother sat up all night waiting for her son. His mother sat up all night waiting for her son.
His mother sat up all night waiting for her son.
You should have told me a long time ago. You should have told me a long time ago.
You should have told me a long time ago.
A bookstore in that location wouldn't make enough money to survive. A bookstore in that location wouldn't make enough money to survive.
A bookstore in that location wouldn't make enough money to survive.
What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
It is less muggy today than it was yesterday. It is less muggy today than it was yesterday.
It is less muggy today than it was yesterday.
He should apologize for being rude to the guests. He should apologize for being rude to the guests.
He should apologize for being rude to the guests.
Are you planning to take part in the meeting? Are you planning to take part in the meeting?
Are you planning to take part in the meeting?
Can you tell me where the nearest bus stop is? Can you tell me where the nearest bus stop is?
Can you tell me where the nearest bus stop is?
Prices are double what they were 2 years ago. Prices are double what they were 2 years ago.
The prices are double what they were 2 years ago.
There must be a way to arrive at a diplomatic solution. There must be a way to arrive at a diplomatic solution.
There must be a way to arrive at a diplomatic solution.
I want to get a haircut before I go on the trip. I want to get a haircut before I go on the trip.
I want to get a haircut before I go on the trip.
You have to get this work finished by noon. You have to get this work finished by noon.
You have to get this work finished by noon.
150 people entered the marathon race. 150 people entered the marathon race.
150 people entered the marathon race.
I'm going to run a couple of errands. Want to tag along? I'm going to run a couple of errands. Want to tag along?
I'm going to run a couple of errands. Want to tag along?
I don't feel very well. I should go home. I don't feel very well. I should go home.
I don't feel very well. I should go home.
The fact is that he didn't even take the exam. The fact is that he didn't even take the exam.
The fact is that he didn't even take the exam.
A woman visited us while you were sleeping. A woman visited us while you were sleeping.
A woman visited us while you were sleeping.
I find it difficult to express my meaning in words. I find it difficult to express my meaning in words.
I find it difficult to express my meaning in words.
You should know better than to ask a lady her age. You should know better than to ask a lady her age.
You should know better than to ask a lady her age.
She did not visit me on Sunday, but on Monday. She did not visit me on Sunday, but on Monday.
She did not visit me on Sunday, but on Monday.
He rushed into the room with his coat on. He rushed into the room with his coat on.
He rushed into the room with his coat on.
I don't know if I'll have time to do it. I don't know if I'll have time to do it.
I don't know if I'll have time to do it.
After you have read it, give the book back to me. After you have read it, give the book back to me.
After you read it, give the book back to me.
The school is 5 kilometers from my home. The school is 5 kilometers from my home.
The school is 5 kilometers from my home.
I'd like to live in the suburbs of Kobe. I'd like to live in the suburbs of Kobe.
I'd like to live in the suburbs, like Kobe.
Nobody understood why the elephant suddenly turned on its owner. Nobody understood why the elephant suddenly turned on its owner.
Nobody understood why the elephant suddenly turned on its owner.
She was more beautiful than all the others. She was more beautiful than all the others.
She was more beautiful than all the others.
I worked in a post office during the summer vacation. I worked in a post office during the summer vacation.
I worked in a post office during the summer vacation.
Would you like to have a drink before dinner? Would you like to have a drink before dinner?
Would you like to have a drink before dinner?
Marriage is the main cause of all divorces. Marriage is the main cause of all divorces.
Marriage is the main cause of all divorces.
I did not expect it to be that big. I did not expect it to be that big.
I did not expect it to be that big.
His absence gave birth to all sorts of rumors. His absence gave birth to all sorts of rumors.
His absence gave birth to all sorts of rumors.
China is about 25 times as large as Japan. China is about 25 times as large as Japan.
China is about 25 times as large as Japan.
I am looking for a present for my mother. I am looking for a present for my mother.
I'm looking for a present for my mother.
I wouldn't be too surprised if this song became a hit. I wouldn't be too surprised if this song became a hit.
I wouldn't be too surprised if this song became a hit.
We have to sing at an old folks' home today. We have to sing at an old folks' home today.
I have to sing at an old folks' home today.
Some people like red wine, and some people like white wine. Some people like red wine, and some people like white wine.
Some people like red wine, and some people like white wine.
Sir, that CD is available only by special order. Sir, that CD is available only by special order.
Sir, that CD is available only by special order.
I have a friend whose father is a teacher. I have a friend whose father is a teacher.
I have a friend whose father is a teacher.
Where did you get the money to buy that dress? Where did you get the money to buy that dress?
Where did you get the money to buy that dress?
Were you able to do everything you wanted to get done? Were you able to do everything you wanted to get done?
Were you able to do everything you wanted to get done?
There are a lot of new buildings here now. There are a lot of new buildings here now.
There are a lot of new buildings here now.
I will provide you all the necessary information. I will provide you all the necessary information.
I will provide you all the necessary information.
Let's divide this money between you and me. Let's divide this money between you and me.
Let's divide this money between you and me.
The job looked quite simple, but it took me a week. The job looked quite simple, but it took me a week.
The job looked quite simple, but it took me a week.
How long would it take to swim across the river? How long would it take to swim across the river?
How long would it take to swim across the river?
She liked tennis and became a tennis coach. She liked tennis and became a tennis coach.
She liked tennis and became a tennis coach.
This problem is too difficult for primary school children to solve. This problem is too difficult for primary school children to solve.
This problem is too difficult for primary school children to solve.
The red flag indicated the presence of danger. The red flag indicated the presence of danger.
The red flag indicated the presence of danger.
He sleeps during the day and works at night. He sleeps during the day and works at night.
He sleeps during the day and works at night.
He was kind enough to take me to the hospital. He was kind enough to take me to the hospital.
He was kind enough to take me to the hospital.
He had his sister help him paint the wall of his room. He had his sister help him paint the wall of his room.
He had his sister help him paint the wall of his room.
I hope everything will be fine in the end. I hope everything will be fine in the end.
I hope everything will be fine in the end.
He has just published an interesting series of articles. He has just published an interesting series of articles.
He has just published an interesting series of articles.
I'd like to leave this town and never come back. I'd like to leave this town and never come back.
I'd like to leave this town and never come back.
My father is too busy to take a walk. My father is too busy to take a walk.
My father is too busy to take a walk.
Could you please talk a bit louder? I can't hear very well. Could you please talk a bit louder? I can't hear very well.
Could you please talk a bit louder? I can't hear very well.
He wishes he had gone to the theater last night. He wishes he had gone to the theater last night.
He wishes he had gone to the theater last night.
English is not easy, but it is interesting. English is not easy, but it is interesting.
English is not easy, but it is interesting.
We have less than 5 minutes to evacuate the whole building. We have less than 5 minutes to evacuate the whole building.
We have less than 5 minutes to evacuate the whole building.
There are 50 states in the United States. There are 50 states in the United States.
There are 50 states in the United States.
He returned home for the first time in 10 years. He returned home for the first time in 10 years.
He returned home for the first time in 10 years.
While you're young, you should read a lot. While you're young, you should read a lot.
While you're young, you should read a lot.
A doctor told me that eating eggs was bad for me. A doctor told me that eating eggs was bad for me.
A doctor told me that eating eggs was bad for me.
Hey, I may have no money, but I still have my pride. Hey, I may have no money, but I still have my pride.
Hey, I may have no money, but I still have my pride.
I have 2 dogs. One is white and the other black. I have 2 dogs. One is white and the other black.
I have 2 dogs. One is white and the other is black.
I was a high school student at that time. I was a high school student at that time.
I was a high school student at that time.
I would like to retract my previous statement. I would like to retract my previous statement.
I would like to retract my previous statement.
The child had no overcoat on, although it was very cold. The child had no overcoat on, although it was very cold.
The child had no overcoat on, although it was very cold.
He devoted the last years of his life to writing his autobiography. He devoted the last years of his life to writing his autobiography.
He devoted the last 10 years of his life to writing his autobiography.
My husband reads the newspaper while eating breakfast. My husband reads the newspaper while eating breakfast.
My husband reads the newspaper while eating breakfast.
I'm not as stupid as you think I am. I'm not as stupid as you think I am.
I'm not as stupid as you think I am.
I couldn't enter because the door was closed. I couldn't enter because the door was closed.
I couldn't enter because the door was closed.
The senator was censured by the Congressional Ethics Committee. The senator was censured by the Congressional Ethics Committee.
The senator was censored by the Congressional Ethics Committee.
It's a good thing to read good books when you are young. It's a good thing to read good books when you are young.
It's a good thing to read good books when you are young.
I'd like to ask you a few more questions. I'd like to ask you a few more questions.
I'd like to ask you a few more questions.
We must learn to live in harmony with nature. We must learn to live in harmony with nature.
We must learn to live in harmony with nature.
We met in a coffee shop near the campus. We met in a coffee shop near the campus.
We met in a coffee shop near the campus.
She may be a nurse. I am not sure. She may be a nurse. I am not sure.
She may be a nurse. I am not sure.
Is this ladder strong enough to bear my weight? Is this ladder strong enough to bear my weight?
Is this ladder strong enough to bear my weight?
What is the total amount of money you spent? What is the total amount of money you spent?
What is the total amount of money you spent?
Mary is not poor. On the contrary, she is quite rich. Mary is not poor. On the contrary, she is quite rich.
Mary is not poor. On the contrary, she is quite rich.
I wish that we could spend more time together. I wish that we could spend more time together.
I wish we could all spend more time together.
The whole neighborhood was surprised at the news. The whole neighborhood was surprised at the news.
The whole neighborhood was surprised at the news.
She spends a lot of time practicing the piano. She spends a lot of time practicing the piano.
She spends a lot of time practicing the piano.
I met him just as he was coming out of school. I met him just as he was coming out of school.
I met him just as he was coming out of school.
It was not until I reached home that I missed my purse. It was not until I reached home that I missed my purse.
It was not until I reached home that I missed my purse.
There are a lot of things you don't know about my personality. There are a lot of things you don't know about my personality.
There are a lot of things you don't know about my personality.
My room is 3 times as large as yours. My room is 3 times as large as yours.
My room is 3 times as large as yours.
There is nothing worse than doing something in a half-hearted manner. There is nothing worse than doing something in a half-hearted manner.
There is nothing worse than doing something in a half-hearted manner.
Prices are double what they were 10 years ago. Prices are double what they were 10 years ago.
Prices are double what they were 10 years ago.
I vowed that I would never speak to her again. I vowed that I would never speak to her again.
I vowed that I would never speak to her again.
The boss has a good opinion of your work. The boss has a good opinion of your work.
The boss has a good opinion of your work.
It is more blessed to give than to receive. It is more blessed to give than to receive.
It is more blessed to give than to receive.
The phone rang while I was taking a shower. The phone rang while I was taking a shower.
The phone rang while I was taking a shower.
Lake Baikal in Russia is the deepest lake in the world. Lake Baikal in Russia is the deepest lake in the world.
Lake Baikal in Russia is the deepest lake in the world.
I haven't had time to look for what you wanted. I haven't had time to look for what you wanted.
I haven't had time to look for what you wanted.
It is easy for a monkey to climb a tree. It is easy for a monkey to climb a tree.
It is easy to make a monkey climb a tree.
That's the computer on which he writes his articles. That's the computer on which he writes his articles.
That's the computer on which he writes his articles.
She will be glad if you go to see her in person. She will be glad if you go to see her in person.
She will be glad if you go to see her in person.
Give me a chance to make you proud of me. Give me a chance to make you proud of me.
Give me a chance to make you proud of me.
A rabbit has long ears and a short tail. A rabbit has long ears and a short tail.
A rabbit has long ears and a short tail.
The air is thin at the top of a high mountain. The air is thin at the top of a high mountain.
The air is thin at the top of a high mountain.
The show was very interesting. You should have seen it. The show was very interesting. You should have seen it.
The show is very interesting. You should have seen it.
I have a lot of friends to help me. I have a lot of friends to help me.
I have a lot of friends to help me.
I'd love to find out why she said so. I'd love to find out why she said so.
I'd love to find out why she said so.
Do you think he is good for the position? Do you think he is good for the position?
Do you think he is good for the position?
This is the most beautiful sight that I have ever seen. This is the most beautiful sight that I have ever seen.
This is the most beautiful sight that I have ever seen.
This is the house I lived in when I was young. This is the house I lived in when I was young.
This is the house I lived in when I was young.
I felt so sleepy that I could hardly keep my eyes open. I felt so sleepy that I could hardly keep my eyes open.
I felt so sleepy that I could hardly keep my eyes open.
Our eyes take time to adjust to the dark. Our eyes take time to adjust to the dark.
Our eyes take time to adjust to the dark.
Islam first reached China about the middle of the 7th century. Islam first reached China about the middle of the 7th century.
Islam first reached China about the middle of the 7th century.
Her house is at the foot of a mountain. Her house is at the foot of a mountain.
Her house is at the foot of a mountain.
After a couple of drinks, the guy was feeling no pain. After a couple of drinks, the guy was feeling no pain.
After a couple drinks, the guy was feeling no pain.
Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else. Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else.
Books are for people who wish they were somewhere else.
Their trip was postponed because of the rain. Their trip was postponed because of the rain.
Their trip was postponed because of the rain.
Is it always a sin to tell a lie? Is it always a sin to tell a lie?
Is it always a sin to tell a lie?
I think it's better for us to adopt his plan. I think it's better for us to adopt his plan.
I think it's better for us to adopt his plan.
A good cook doesn't throw out yesterday's soup. A good cook doesn't throw out yesterday's soup.
A good cook doesn't throw out yesterday's soup.
She was at a loss for words to express her feeling. She was at a loss for words to express her feeling.
She was at a loss for words to express her feeling.
English is a very important language in today's world. English is a very important language in today's world.
English is an important language in today's world.
It was raining heavily when I got up this morning. It was raining heavily when I got up this morning.
It was raining heavily when I got up this morning.
The young man put out his hand, and I shook it. The young man put out his hand, and I shook it.
The young man put out his hand, and I shook it.
Switch on the light. I can't see anything. Switch on the light. I can't see anything.
Switch on the light. I can't see anything.
The top of the mountain is covered in snow. The top of the mountain is covered in snow.
The top of the mountain is covered in snow.
I always take a bath before going to bed. I always take a bath before going to bed.
I always take a bath before going to bed.
The crane, unlike the dog, has never dreamed of flying. The crane, unlike the dog, has never dreamed of flying.
The crane, unlike the dog, has never dreamed of flying.
Keep an eye on the child for me for a moment. Keep an eye on the child for me for a moment.
Keep an eye on the child for me for a moment.
You have to study hard to catch up with your class. You have to study hard to catch up with your class.
You have to study hard to catch up with your class.
I broke a glass when I did the dishes. I broke a glass when I did the dishes.
I broke a glass when I did the dishes.
I couldn't put up with her arrogant behavior. I couldn't put up with her arrogant behavior.
I couldn't put up with her arrogant behavior.
I admit this may not be the best way of doing it. I admit this may not be the best way of doing it.
I admit this may not be the best way of doing it.
I know him by name, but not by sight. I know him by name, but not by sight.
I know him by name, but not by sight.
He is one of the greatest artists in Japan. He is one of the greatest artists in Japan.
He is one of the greatest artists in Japan.
He couldn't stand the bitterness of the coffee. He couldn't stand the bitterness of the coffee.
He couldn't stand the bitterness of the coffee.
I had hoped that my mother would live until I got married. I had hoped that my mother would live until I got married.
I had hoped that my mother would live until I got married.